A good night of Shabbos, Parshas Chukas. Parshas Chukas. So where are we going? Where are we heading? Where are we going? Where's the entrance? Where is the opening? Where's the opening? Not the entrance, the opening. It's a difference between an opening and an entrance. An entrance is, it's an entrance, it's a doorway, entering a space. And once you enter that space, you still have to figure out where and what fits, what doesn't fit. Maybe it's the wrong entrance. An opening is more of a layer. It's layered. It's one on top of the other. It's a softer. It's a soft. The fabric has been softened, and until one realizes that the whole fabric is only layer upon layer. When really, when it's opened up and you shake it out, then it just starts. The letters just open up. It starts flying, and it just um, as you do that process, the person, your letters, our letters start opening up, and you're connecting, and then you find yourself within the space of where you want to connect to. You find yourself from the center in the center, right? Echad, Yachid. Yachid is everything. Echad is the one thing chosen out of everything, all the infinite possibilities. So, para this week is the Parsha Para Dima. It's almost like, you know, it's a chak. This kacha. There's no reason. There's no understanding. Nobody understands what it is, and it's almost like, okay, fine, fine. I hear that. So nobody figured it out. Nobody, Hashem didn't share with anybody but with Moshe. But Shlomo Melech said, I tried, but this is the one thing that I can't get to the bottom of it. So whatever one may think that they figured it out, I guess that's not it, because nobody knows. But what Hasidus is explaining us, that yes, we don't know the reason, and maybe because there isn't a reason. It's not a reason. It's an entrance. It's not something that we are processing like a mitzvah that I'm processing, and I understand the benefit of it, and then also I understand that by doing it I'm creating a future world for self, that you or whoever will be living in Klal Prat, but rather it's something that the way you enter this space is by not understanding, by not knowing. What's the message? The message is, it's called chakika. Chakika is a stamp. A stamp is something that a stamp, but it's engraved. It's engraved, which means that it's chakik. It's carved out. It's carved in. It's carved in. Which means that it makes an impression. Which means that it pushes through. It pushes through. A print is on top of the paper, and chakika is etched in the stone, which means that it removes and it pushes out. It pushes out to the other side. So paradima is a chak. It's chakika, which means that it's boilet. It's like the tefillin shayrosh. When you put on the tefillin, it protrudes out from the head, and it creates a stamp into Welt, into Malchus, and it sends a signal. It's a code. It's the shemus. It's a combination that sends a signal, and we receive shefa that way. So too, paradima is something that was what chakik. It's etched into to existence, and nobody understands what it is. You have to be from Torah to understand what the paraduma is, and what is it really. Really, it's what, as Chassidus explains, it's emunah. It's something that it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. I don't know, but yet I'm doing it. I'm with it. I'm doing it, and that is that it opens up it's a very delicate and very powerful channel. It's a very delicate. It's almost like there's another channel on your satellite that you did not know it exists. You did not know that exists, and if you dial in this number, this code, you're something reveals itself to you, which is Amunah, and that is Paraduma. And the reason that it's Metama Tohirim and Metama, and it's such a powerful cleansing that even Toma Mace, which is a Via Vasa Tuma, which when the Erisha told Moshe of Tumas Mace, his face turned black, because He's like, how are we going to reset from that level of tama? Tama is when somebody dies, which means that the only way a person can die is if he forgets. He's in shikha, he forgets, he's disconnected, because if we're connected to our source, then the battery keeps recharging. You can't run out of fuel. If there's a satellite dish and the sun shines, then it's going to keep replenishing. So, but if there is a cloud, that means there is a forgetfulness, and then it burns out. And how do we get back from that? How, once you're disconnected, you need a level of chis amesim, you need a level of the ultimate. So how are we going to get out of this one? And that is the power of paraduma, which was able to purify from tamemes, from tamemes specifically, from tamemes also. And all of us, each and every one of us, are tamemes. We're very tam. We're disconnected. We're dead in so many ways. So many ways we're so attached to our reality of just a fungus, of just forgetfulness, of disconnect, that the only way to get out of this one, the only way to be matar from this one, is by paraduma, which is a chak, which is etched in, it's in existence, and by tapping into my amunah, tapping into my, to just letting go, just letting it be. Okay, whatever. When we can go on amunah, but we don't have to elaborate on it. You understand what it means, amunah. Amunah is that you're finding, yes, let's go one step on it. You're finding that peace within yourself, and if you find that peace, which I will elaborate in a minute, you find that peace within self, automatically you enter in such a high vibration that everything else just falls off, everything else just disappears. And we have to do this. We have to do this because we keep repeating the same thing and keeping it alive, the same thing over and over again. But it's a new era. We're in a new space, and something very interesting happens this week in the parsha, which is I want to see if I covered everything on the Parah Duma. I think so. All right. In this week's parsha, we have where the Yidden are going out, and Edom is telling them you can't enter the space, and then you have as soon as Arna Cohen passes on, the Ananei Kovet, which is the protection, which is the Yidden we were invisible type of thing. They couldn't be seen. They were protected, and all of a sudden we have to enter the land, and they're being turned down, and then there is a war with Milchama, with Canaan, and then they have to go back. They go back to the Yamsuf, and then they realize, you know what, this ancestral trauma is coming up for them. It's like, you know what, we're doing the repeat. We're going back to the same spiel again. We're going back. They have to go back 7 Masahs, I believe it is, and they get this bitter taste in their mouth. Like, are we going to end up just like our ancestors, just like our parents? We're going to be stuck in this place. We're never leaving. We're not getting out of here. We can't. It's not even a question anymore if they believe that, like the Meraglim, that Hashem could or Hashem can't do this. They believe, but they were like, we are stuck. We're blocked. We can't get out. We can't get out of our own way. We keep repeating because it's part of our DNA. We can't get out of it. We can't get out of it. And something different happens is that they're telling to Moshe, they're like, why did you take us out of Mitzrayim? And they're saying the same thing that their father said. Why did you take us out of Mitzrayim? Just leave us there, because this bread, this man that we're dealing with, it's not a kloikel, because they didn't have to go to the bathroom, and it's like, this is not humane. So technically speaking, they said something which 40 years ago Hashem, wiped out, got very responsive, very aggressive response when something like this came. That there was a megefa when that type of language entered the space, that wasn't tolerable. But all of a sudden over here, that is not happening. But Hashem sends this nachash, He sends the snake, this burning snake, and so they said there was what was it? They used to Eresh Shanam. Yeah, used to spray, and the people died. And they came and they said, "I'm sorry, be mispalel to Hashem to take this thing away from us." And Hashem and Moshe davened, and the Ibsha told him to create a sarav. Okay, in other words, to create something that looks, it's a snake that looks like a snake, and it made it out of copper. And whoever looked at it, whoever looked at that snake, it healed. He got healed. So the question here is like, why all of a sudden there's so much compassion over here that telling them that they're creating something that was an antidote, almost like nachash, which is nachash, like it's another, it's like a sort of like an omen, right? Something that you look at and it clears. So the vart is that, first of all, when they complained about the lechem hakloikel, about the mun, because they were preparing themselves to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael already, they were already they were grounded already, and they said like, look, if we have to go do this work, we can't be living on superfood. We need real food. We need to be able to eat and have psoilus. We need to process. We need to do birudim. We need to be like human beings if we're gonna integrate into Welt. If we're gonna deal with challenges, we need to be able to eat that food that's gonna align us at the same place. That's number one. And second of all, this was already as you call it, the new consciousness, the millennial age. It was the second generation already. They weren't as traumatized, so to speak. They were not the slaves in Mitzrayim. They already had a different like this was the technological advanced generation. And this is where they were already entering at Israel, and it was a different mindset. When they were complaining, it was already coming from a different place. It wasn't, I'm not getting into what the other generation meant. These were Daradeh, we're not massing what was going on over there. But they were already in a different space. They were here to, it wasn't coming from a place of despair. It wasn't coming from a place of bitterness, of depression or judgments. They were really saying like, look, how do we get out of this? It was a different type of scream. It was a different type of cry. It was coming from a different place. It was coming from a healthier place. They were already protected. They weren't. The core hasn't been infected by the trauma and everything that the ancestors went through, the ancestral trauma. So what do we learn from this? That we are that generation. We are the generation that we're told that we are going to go. Can I get Mashiach? We're the Ikvas of Mashiach. We are the dar that's going to enter into, that we're going to witness the Geula Shalema. We are living at that time right now. It's happening right in front of our eyes. So keeping in mind that the process that we're going through and all the challenges that we're dealing with, even though it may look that it's ancestral and we're repeating the same thing over and over again, and you may get carried away with what's happening, but you may get carried away by the message out there. That's just the wind. It's painful and it's heavy and it's hard, and we're not seeing any. There's no light. We keep doing the same thing, the same struggle over and over again. And I remember at home was the same struggle. So here I am, but understanding that this is a different generation. This we have already a nachash that you can look at, and if you had the right intention, it says in the first, you have to have the kavanah. You have to have the kavanah to be healed. You have to have the kavanah to let go, which means that the pain, the judgments that they were saying wasn't theirs. It was a part of the organism, and they were willing to do the work. They were willing to they weren't coming from a place of despair and bitterness. They weren't comfortable. They didn't want to live in the victimhood. They didn't want that. They actually wanted to get out. They were legitimately concerned, how do we get out? And if you had that intention, that is like the sitar, that removed the other side. They cleansed the organism, and you were able to see through, and immediately the snake did not have an effect anymore. The bite of the snake removed it. It had no effect. It was the antidote. It was the perfect antidote. It was the same intensity as the question came, and the doubt and the judgment came with the same intensity. If you looked at the other side of it, you looked up at the nachash that out of copper that removed that judgment, and it opened up, which means that the whole thing was just it was just an illusion. It was just a dream. It was an illusion. It was klippa. It was blocked. The visual was blocked. They weren't able to see. So what are we learning this week? What are we learning from Parshas Chukas here in Tafshin Pei Dalet 2024? We're learning that it's just I want to use the word. What the word I want to use? I'm going to go. It's a state of mind. 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 The noise activates a state of mind that we remember from childhood, to remember from our parents, and we keep remembering, and this is what keeps reactivating it. But really, by going into Para Aduma, the Para Aduma is the Ephra Para, which can cleanse even from Tamei Maze. Even if we are so deep, generations of pain, generations of disappointment, if you go into your level of Amunah, you're tapping into that frequency, and you look at it with the right intention, you're doing your work with the intention to be freed, and with the intention that you're not looking you're not questioning it. You're not questioning it from a place of trying to upfrig, but rather you're questioning it from a place of how do I get out? You will get out. That's the antidote to the snake. That's the antidote to the nachash, to the Tanan Agadol, to Paroi, and to the whole spiel. Yeah. So yeah, and then Ve'isi b'nei Yisrael, V'yachne ba'ovis, and then we're going to fuhren. Mizrach Hashemesh. This is where it starts moving, it starts happening. Going into Chodesh Tammuz. Chodesh Tammuz is the tzirif, is the opposite of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Hey Vav, Hey Yud. It's complete opposite. Chodesh Nisan is Yud Kei Vav Kei, which means it's Chodesh Agula, and Chodesh Tammuz is the opposite of the proper tzirif, which means that it gets intense. It's going to get very intense, Baruch Hashem. But you understand that the more intense it gets, the more light and the more fire there is. You're not new to this spiel. And usually in Tammuz, this is when it gets heated up with wars and all that stuff. Gevuras in the summer months. This is when it happens. So whatever needs to happen should happen, and we should all tap into the Ephra Para, to which is Chakike, which is etched into the Bria. There's another channel over here. There's a language over here. It was very interesting. I was actually I was in shul, and they were davening, and there were people from all over coming, for whatever event it was, and speaking Spanish and speaking Russian and speaking Polish, whatever it was, all types of languages, all types of brothers there coming in to celebrate. And this guy wanted to daven for the Amit, and he wanted to know if it's available. He had to die. He was a chiyuv, and he's communicating with sign language, because he doesn't speak a word of English. He's speaking, I don't know what language he was speaking. And then he davened for the Amit, and it was the most amazing thing that when he started saying the Kaddish and the Chazaras Hashatz, the Shemana Esrei, everybody understood him. He was talking in Lashon HaKodesh, and I was like, wow, I understand what this person is saying. More powerful than a song. You can listen to a song from somebody from another culture, you hear, but you may not understand the culture. But over here, it's a language that he speaks. He comes from a different place, different culture, raised in a different place, doesn't speak a word of English or Yiddish or whatever it was. But then there is a language that we all understand, that everybody is responding about. Amen. We're communicating with him, and that is the most powerful thing that I've experienced. A reality check as to that there's another channel, there's another existence, which is called Shabbos, which is called Tefillin, Taharas Mishpacha, candle lighting, and Ephra Para. Ephra Para, by going into that space, this is how we enter in the channel. This is a telegraph, a silent messages going with high technology that's being communicated all over the world. So we should all have an awesome Shabbos. It should be a real cleansing, the ultimate cleansing, and we should start talking and communicating from success. Share successes. Start sharing success. How amazing it is, how far you've come, and what you have, and what you really have, and what you really are aspiring for, and goals, and so on and so forth. Have an awesome Shabbos.